That's the mood reader coming out in me. We are slowly becoming a mood reader. Hello my loves, and thank you for joining me. It's Kirsten and it's time for my December wrap up, the Smash or Pass edition. I had a lot of fun filming this for November, so we're going to carry on with it. Very simple, we're going to run through all the books that I have read this month and give it whether I would smash or pass, depending on how I felt about them. So let's get to it. As always, I have my note paper for the ebooks that I read for the month, and I read 4. Which is not bad. So let's start off with Haunting Adeline, and this is by H.D. Colton. This is the first book in a duology where we're following 2 main characters. One is a author. She has inherited her nan's house, which is also a bit haunted and stuff, and then she gets a stalker. The second perspective is of the stalker, and he is honestly a little bit crazy. It is a dark romance story, so of course they end up falling in love. He is a bit more interesting. He is a head of an organisation that is dedicated to taking down trafficking rings and saving women and children from this horrible situation that they are in. So it is really interesting to see that side of it, but then at the same time conflicting because he's then stalking Adeline. So it was an okay read. I think I wouldn't reread it though, so I'm gonna say pass. It was entertaining, I did enjoy it. I thought it added quite a bit of plot to it, whereas normally dark romance ends up being a lot of heavily just smut, and while there was some in there, it was also balanced well with the plot line of everything. It was predictable, but it was okay. The second book, Hunting Adeline, however, a complete pass. I ended up DNFing this book. I really didn't enjoy it. We ended on the first book with something happening to Adeline, and then she's in this really dangerous situation, and just some of the things that happen to her are just brutal and horrible, and I don't know, I just really didn't feel comfortable with it. And then with the resolution of that, the story, there was still over half of it to go, and you knew exactly the way it was going to go. I'm keeping it really vague in case you want to read it. So I ended up DNFing. I just couldn't connect to it as much. I do think it was interesting, the exploration with the characters and trying to get over trauma that's happened to you. I do think it was good, but also just I wasn't in the mood for it anymore. I'd lost interest, so that one is a pass for sure. Then we have The Last Housewife, and this is by Ashley Winstead, and this is an immediate smash. I loved this book so much. I definitely want to get a physical copy of it. It's fantastic. It was so good. In this book, we're following a main character, and she is listening to this like true crime podcast, and she finds out that her school friend has turned up dead. She's just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. And so she goes back there to her hometown to find out what happened. We start learning more and more about her past. We learn how as a younger woman she was caught up in this cult, how she was so manipulated by this man, how her and her best friend were in a really difficult situation. It was really horrible, and it's a book that really does explore the power dynamics between men and women, and it really gets you to think about things, and by the end of the book it makes you question, was this right? Was this something that should have happened? Again, being a bit vague here, and you get the whole storyline, the build up to this set of events. It's really good. I would say if you like things like My Dark Vanessa, then this is an interesting one. That's along similar kind of veins. That would be a good one to try. I really did enjoy this book. I thought it was fantastic. I ended up like highlighting things and stuff, which is the first time I've done that in a Kindle book, and it was really good. Highly recommend. And then we have Daughter of No Worlds, which is another immediate smash. I really enjoyed this one. This is an indie author fantasy book. It's so good. More people need to be talking about it and reading it. Heather, I'll have her channel linked below. She's read it. I think she's read it. And she told me that Olivia from Olivia Reads a Latte, again, I'll have her linked below. She really enjoyed this book. Honestly, I watched Olivia's video, so I must have just missed that. It's a good book. It's so good, and I really think it deserves to be picked up by an actual publisher. Like, it's so good. So in this one we are following Tasana, and Tasana has been a slave. Not her whole life. She got taken away as a child. She got sold into slavery. We know that she's had a really difficult time of it. When we meet her, she is so close to paying off to be free. And she does this, and of course it does not go the way that she hoped it would. It goes really badly for her, and so she escapes. And then she ends up at this city called Ara, and in Ara there are order of magic users, and you have two different types of magic users, and that either deals with more mental magic or physical magic. It's really interesting. I love the magic system in this. I think it's so well done, so well explained. Tisana goes there so that she can get help with freeing the slaves that she left behind. She thinks it's all for what they're doing, and the orders have the power to do this, and so she goes there to be part of the orders and then to get the help. However, to become a part of the orders you have to be an apprentice, and she is a lot older than their usual apprentices, but they're like, we're happy to speed up the apprenticeship, but you still need to be an apprentice. She's then got to undergo a series of trials, be seen as part of the orders, and it's so interesting. There's a lot of political dynamics as to why they're dragging their feet into actually helping, the things that they want from Tisana in return. You do end up with a second perspective, which is Max, where he is Tisana's mentor, and you see how he does not like the orders at all, and you start seeing why. It's so good. There's so many high stakes, there's so many morally grey characters, there's questionable decisions that are being made. I loved it. It was so good. So yeah, definitely another smash. Then let's go with this one. So Tokyo Ghoul Volume 8. I read this during a 24-hour readathon. I'm going to say pass. I do like the Tokyo Ghoul series. However, it is getting to a point where it's just a lot of fighting. Doesn't hold my interest. I've spoken so much about this series over the months because I have been reading this manga series slowly. We're following a main character who has one foot in the human world, one foot in the ghoul world. Ghouls are basically humans, but they need human flesh to survive, and it's an interesting dynamic. You're seeing it from both perspectives. I really enjoyed the start of this series, but towards the end I'm not enjoying it as much. I still have 3 volumes left that I own, so I will finish them, but if it doesn't start picking up, I don't think I would get the last 2 volumes, and I would just leave this because it's going in a direction that I'm not as connected to. Another book from that 24-hour readathon, we have Hex by Jenny Fagan. I'm not sure with this book. I'm actually, I'm gonna go with pass. I liked the concept of this book. It's a very small book. It's a novella following 2 different witches, one from the past and one from the future. The one from the future travels back in time to sit with Gelis on the last night of her life, and they start talking over how it is to be a woman, how brutally that Gelis has been treated under the suspicion of being a witch, how men have used that as an excuse for things rather than it actually being a real accusation. The concept of this sounds amazing. However, it was so repetitive, and that's what really drew me out of this. Like, it's beautifully written, it's so lyrical, but it's so repetitive. For it being such a short book, I just wouldn't expect the same points to be repeated so often. So for that alone, I'm going to say pass. I think if it had been a longer book, the repetition that wouldn't have been as noticeable. Because it was such a short book, it was too much. So I just couldn't connect as well as I'd hoped. It's dark, it's difficult, there are trigger warnings and stuff, but the repetition of it, I didn't enjoy that bit. A book that is a definite smash is The Way of Kings Part 1 by Brandon Sanderson. I loved this so much. This is only half of the first book. I have the split paperback editions, and this is a Stormlight Archive book 1. This is so good. It's an epic fantasy series. It is huge and immersive, but in this book we are mainly following the perspective of Kaladin. Kaladin is a slave. He ends up at the Shattered Plains where there's this massive war going on between the Alethi and the Parshendi. Kaladin seeing how little the Alethi value human lives, and it's really quite hard-hitting, beautifully written. I love it. We also have a few other perspectives in here, but book 1 is mainly revolving around Kaladin. We also get flashes of his past, how he got to where he is. Each of the books, while you follow different perspectives, they will center around a particular person, and you will see their history, their backstory. So yes, you do get other perspectives in this book, but one consistent perspective the whole way through is Kaladin. It's just so good. I love his perspective. He's one of my favourite characters. I immediately wanted to carry on with the second part straight away. I didn't. I haven't actually got round to that and picked it up yet, but that's the mood reader coming out in me. We are slowly becoming a mood reader. Yeah, this was just fantastic. There is going to be the 5th book. I think it's coming out next year, so I'm going to be slowly making my way through these just to refresh everything, and this is the 3rd time I've read it, and it's amazing seeing all the little details, which it doesn't matter how many times you reread these, there is always going to be something that you can pick up from it, and I love it. I think it's fantastic. Epic fantasy. If you enjoy it and you haven't read Brandon Sanderson, give him a try. Okay, we have 5 more books. Let's go. Actually, let's go with a book that's definitely a pass. This is Wakenhurst by Michelle Paver. I started this in the 24-hour readathon and ended up DNFing it. I got to page 289. So I did get close to the end. I think I had less than 100 pages. I just found this so slow. It's a shame because the start of it was so interesting, and I'm sorry, you've seen this in a lot of vlogs, but the start of it was really interesting. You get newspaper articles and stuff that's talking about something that happened, and Maud is alive, but she refuses to talk about it, and then eventually she does, and then the rest of the book is Maud's perspective, and it's all about how her father ended up by the end of this killing a man, and it's the lead up to that. Unfortunately, it's just really slow. It's so slow moving, and I'm just not connected to the characters. I'm not going to talk about it loads. I've talked about it so much in so many videos. It's a DNF. It's a pass. Too slow. A book I loved and wasn't on my TBR for December, and it was it was the last book I finished in 2022, and that's The Stranger Times by C.K. McDonald. This was so much fun. I had so many reservations going into this because my dad got it for me. He said, oh, it's a funny book. And I was a bit like, funny book? I don't know. I like quite dry humour. I'm glad I just went for it and just decided to pick it up randomly because this was hilarious. I loved it so much. I was literally laughing out loud at places. I read it in 3 days. It was so good. I enjoyed this so much. So we are following Hannah. Hannah's just left her husband. She needs a job desperately. She's never had one before, and so she ends up interviewing at the Stranger Times. She has no idea what she's even interviewing for. It's the weirdest interview I've ever seen and she ends up getting the job. The Stranger Times ends up being a newspaper that reports the most unusual things. There'll be ghost sightings, UFO sightings, etc. Just expands from there. It's so much fun. You have a subplot line going on, and eventually the two connect together. It's fantastic. It's funny. It's absurd. I loved it, and I cannot wait to get the second book. It's not actually out yet. It's out in Kindle, but I want to get a paperback version. I can't wait. It's so much fun. I never see people talking about these, but it was hilarious. It was so much fun. So if you need a fun book, give this a try. It's fantastic. I really enjoyed it. Then we have not the whole of this book. I just read the chimes from this Charles Dickens Christmas books bind up. There are 4 or 5 Christmas books in here? 5 Christmas books in here. And what I want to do every year is to read one of the short stories from here at Christmas time. Last year I read Christmas Carol. In 2022 I read The Chimes, and I'm gonna say pass. It was well written, it was really good, however I feel like it was just a spin-off off of A Christmas Carol, just done from a different perspective and done at New Year's rather than at Christmas. And instead of seeing it from this affluent man that is just like bar humbug about Christmas, we're instead seeing it from this poor working class man, how he's just given up on humanity, and then series of things happen where he gets shown different things and gets reminded that there is humanity, and at the end of it he's happy there's humanity and he's going to try harder and stuff, and he has belief in life again. I liked it. I think it's just because I had seen all those parallels to A Christmas Carol and I just preferred A Christmas Carol, so a pass, but still a good read, and I still think the points in that it was doing was very good. I think it would have worked better if I'd read A Christmas Carol and then a Christmas book that was completely different to it, and then maybe read The Chimes. Maybe it's just because I read them, I want to say so close together, but it is, and yet it was also a year apart, but it was just too similar. So nah, pass. Okay, the last 2 books are actually smashes. I loved them. We have Summer Suns by Lee Mandello. Now, actually, I'm not gonna lie, the start of this book I was very much like pass. I wasn't enjoying it that much. We're following Andrew. He is trying to find out what happened to his best friend Eddie. Eddie left him to go to college, left Andrew behind saying, nope, you can't follow me just yet, just wait till he turns up dead. And Andrew's like, I need to find out what happened. He did not just commit suicide like everyone is telling me. Something happened to him and I need to find out what. And that's what we're following. What I didn't expect was the fast cars and the recreational drug usage in this book. I was not expecting that at all. It did work really well though. I really ended up enjoying this book. I liked how it was really calling out what it's like to be gay and also what it's like to be a black person during an elite college where it's whitewashed and how horrible that is. All the underlying subcontexts behind this book was fascinating and really well done. I definitely want to reread it and annotate it. I really enjoyed it. I loved seeing Andrew come to terms with his sexuality as well. It was just so good. I really enjoyed this book, and it also got me questioning, like, my thing on dark academia I've always been very linear about, but this started getting me questioning that I will go into in a later video, which I've said so many times that I'm going to do. And as much as I was put off at first, I'm so glad I stuck with it because yeah, smash, beautiful. And the final book I read in the month of December, I started in my 24-hour readathon. This was not on my TBR for my 24-hour readathon. I decided to mood read it and pick it up, and that's 5 Survive by Holly Jackson, and I loved this book. I had so much fun. I tabbed it. It was great. This is Holly Jackson's first YA thriller. I really enjoyed her A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. Absolutely loved it. It was the first YA murder mystery series that I fell in love with. As soon as we knew that this was coming out, I had to get it. I'm so pleased I did, and I'm so pleased I ended up picking it up quicker than what I had planned to. It was exactly what I needed. I almost finished it in one sitting. I was enjoying it that much. We have a group of 4 friends who are going away for summer break, and they're driving an RV to get there. And then we have Red's best friend. Her brother is coming along to supervise them, and he's also brought his girlfriend, making up our 6 characters. Unfortunately, they get a bit lost, and then their tyres end up getting shot out, and they start to realise that this was no accident at all, and they need to survive the night. It is broken up over just the night. You have it broken down into different timestamps. As you can see, I also had post-it notes and stuff in the book. I was having such a good time. I had so many theories of what was going on, why it was happening, who was behind it. It was so good. Safe to say I was wrong on all accounts, but I loved it so much. I tabbed, I underlined, I did my post-it notes. It was fantastic time. Yeah, loved it. Smash. I think overall the month of December was pretty good. I ended up with some amazing books which I really enjoyed. The majority of it was actually a pass though, but the good books were really good. So it was a good way to end the year, I think, with this month. I've really enjoyed the majority of my reading, and yeah, I'm pleased. I'm really happy with it all. Let me know if you've read any of these. What was your last read for 2022, and did you enjoy it? And thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far, you know what, I've done it before, but let's go again with a car emoji, because the last 2 books I talked about do involve cars, or well, an RV, but you know. So let's go with that emoji for today, and yeah, thank you. Thank you for watching. So if you have enjoyed this video, please do give it that thumbs up, subscribe and comment to let me know that you're here. Those 3 things are so important to helping this channel, so thank you so much to everyone that does it. My social media links will be linked below, and I will catch you in the next video.